for energy in Africa requires about $55 billion, Mr. President. So how are you going to find that fund in Africa?
As we look at the energy issue, we're looking at how to actually light up and power Africa, which is very important, but also how to help 700 million Africans that don't have access to energy for cooking to be able to do that. And that is why I launched what is called the New Energy Deal for Africa. And that New Energy Deal for Africa will work with African countries, with several of the private sector and also a lot of our partners to accelerate investment in the energy sector in Africa. The African Development Bank itself will significantly increase its investment in the energy sector. We will also work with the African governments to make sure that they are also increasing significantly a share of their GDP that is going to the energy sector. But so when you look at how much it costs, it's going to cost about $56 billion a year over the next 10 years to solve this problem in Africa. And I'm not bothered at all about the cost, because the money to do it is right here in Africa. Africa today collects, just in terms of revenues from taxes alone, $545 billion a year. If you take 10% of that and you devote it to the energy sector, problem solved.
Prior to your election as president of ADB, you had a strong focus on improving agriculture across the continent. Has that changed now?
No, actually, well, nothing changed in terms of the priorities. In fact, when I was elected successfully as president of the bank, I said there are 5 things that the bank is going to focus on for Africa. They're all very, very important and they are interconnected, but they are crucial. First and foremost is to light up and power Africa, as I've just explained. Second one, which is linked to your question, is feeding Africa. The third one is on industrializing Africa. The fourth one is on integrating Africa. And the fifth one is on improving the quality of life of Africans. So we call them high fives at the bank. It's like top high fives for Africa.
With the fall of oil and commodity prices and global economy slowdown as well, is this going to affect you negatively in funding the agriculture and energy revival plans?
For the African Development Bank, our approach to helping Africa out of this is to say, plan to trade differently. In other words, focus on, if it's metals and minerals, whether it's agricultural products or whether it's oil and gas, do industrial development. Process and add value to every single thing you produce. That way you will not be subject to a lot of this volatility. Secondly, also to diversify the export market. You don't export into one single country, you export into different set of countries so that you can manage your export risk better. And third is a lot more on regional trade. Today in Africa, regional trade accounts for no more than 10% of all the trade, and that's very, very low. If you look at Asia, it's about 45%. In EU, it's about 65%. North America, a free trade area is well over almost 45 to 47%. So Africa needs to trade more with itself, and that's why the African Development Bank will continue to facilitate that by investing in roads, in ports, in rail systems that link countries together.